Hello, my name is Kevin Rissmiller, and thank you for viewing my video blog, where I discuss a variety of topics. This topic was I was raped by a priest at 11. It's a very difficult subject for me to talk about, so please forgive me if I have difficulty doing so, but I'm going to do my best to address it here briefly in this video blog. I've talked about it in other postings, and I intend to write a book called Our Father Who Art a Molester, How Monsters Reproduce. Contact me if you are interested in buying a copy or pre-ordering one, and I will put that up on Amazon. Over here. Search Amazon for Kevin Rissmiller. That's my commercial plug. I have 2 books posted as of this recording. Pilot Prison, which is a sci-fi, and I Worked for Trump, which is mostly autobiographical, but I did work for Trump, and everything has a political connotation to it. But returning to the topic, I was molested, sexually raped, by a Roman Catholic priest at age 11 in the St. Ambrose Rectory Parish by a priest from Ireland named Father Ivan Payne. Look him up on Wikipedia. Ivanpayne. And if you put in Ireland with the search in Wiki, you should get it. And it'll tell you that he was convicted, defrocked, had his priestliness removed, served 6 years in an Irish prison for molesting children in a children's hospital. And today, I eventually learned, is still being taken care of by the Roman Catholic Church. And I will give them props for this, not for that, or for what they've done towards me. While I've received no compensation directly for the molestation, nor has any criminal charges been filed against him, simply because, and I did attempt to, in New Jersey, the statute of limitations expired on my ability to file criminal or civil charges against the priest or the church for what happened, which was to me, another raping, as it were. But when I was an 11-year-old boy, I lived in a yellow house at 92 Throckmorton Lane in Old Bridge, New Jersey, which is right next door to the St. Ambrose Convent, where the nuns live, who teach in St. Ambrose, which is the church across the street diagonally from the location. Big, beautiful church, mostly Roman Catholic population in Old Bridge in New Jersey, and next to the convent is the rectory where the priests stay. Now, I want to say this on behalf of many of the priests, because when I grew up in a fatherless home. My mother and father divorced when I was 2, so they would often want me to go spend time with the priest to have a fatherly influence in my life. And many of the priests there were very good men and treated me with respect and honor and tried to do their best. I want to point out specifically Father Mike Cashman. To me, I don't know if he's been accused since then because of all the craziness that's been going on, but to me he was a very good priest, treated me with kindness and love and never tried to do anything inappropriate. Father Ivan Payne was a visiting priest from Ireland. Now, all this stuff that happened, I didn't really bring it back to memory. I had repressed it from what had happened to me until I wound up in prison for the first time in my life about 6 years ago, 5 years ago, because I fought my case for 2 years in the county jail first. And while I was in prison, I took many self-evaluative programs to look at why I became the person I became, what caused me to have this drug abuse, criminal behavior. My life was a mess. So I went and took many different programs that allowed you the opportunity to explore why you became the way you did, what affected your wrong thinking, and so forth. So what I did in those programs is I dug down to find where was that seed, where did this first start from, and those repressed memories of what happened to me as an 11-year-old boy came out, because Father Ivan Payne took advantage of my vulnerability, which is what so often those types of individuals do, He lured me back into his room, and I thought I was, oh wow, how special, because that never happened. To go back to see what the priest's bedroom looked like and such, I thought it was a special moment as a little boy. I was naive and innocent. And while we were in his room, I'll spare you the gory details, but to say that he raped me and that he sexually molested me would be an accurate statement. And I'm going to save those details for when I write that book. For those of you who want to know, for those of you who haven't experienced it, and for those of you who have, I'm going to share that information there because that would be the appropriate place to do it, not here and now. You've got the point of what happened to me. And when I escaped and ran around behind the convent to the 4-foot chain link fence of my backyard, and my heart was pounding like a bird trying to escape its cage, and all those terrible things happen to me. When you're an 11-year-old boy and you're homosexually attacked by the man who's supposed to be a father figure in your life, the man who represents the church, the man who represents God, does that to you, that's going to mess you up pretty bad. And especially back in those days, because Lucy and Ricky slept in separate beds, sex was never discussed in those days in a household. And if you were to make an accusation against a priest like that, I was smart enough, I've always been smart, I got high IQ, you're going to be viewed as something's wrong with you. They're not going to believe that. And priests put themselves in that position to have plausible deniability. When I was in prison and I uncovered this, I contacted the Roman Catholic Church. I wrote directly to St. Ambrose. They forwarded the letter and information on to the diocese in Trenton, which was over that church at the time. And I was contacted by a representative there, who also directed me to the Diocese of Dublin, where Father Ivan Payne was at. And for the first 8 or 9 months, they swore he wasn't there. The closest he was Canada, studying canon law at the time that I said this occurred. But I persisted. I'm tenacious. And I continued to correspond with them, which was the only means of communication I had in prison, and let them know, no, I'm sorry. I didn't even know if this guy was still alive. I didn't know, in prison you don't have any information, communication, access to the internet or anything like that. So I fought and said, no. Well, after 8 months, they finally searched through their record, and guess what? They let me know, and I have the document showing that they went through their baptismal certificates. And lo and behold, whose name wound up signing baptismal certificates at the time I said he was there? You guessed it, Father Ivan Payne from Ireland. Well, they finally believed me. Because how would I know he was there? And they didn't. Because he sexually molested me and raped me as an 11-year-old boy. He destroyed my life. And from my understanding, they were aware of his proclivities back at that time. And as in so many cases, like I've seen a recent video of Deliver Us from Evil, I think it was called, a HBO special, about another Irish priest who was molesting children all over the state of California, and they kept moving him from place to place to place. And my understanding is there was understanding that Father Ivan Payne was doing these things, and he was bouncing around. And this, they didn't even know where he was. He went off and did this to me. They weren't even aware of me as a victim. And I'm very angry because to this very day, they still take care of Father Ivan Payne. They've even given him a new assumed name to protect him, yet I'm currently living homeless, penniless, jobless, and suffering from the results of that attack so many years ago. And that when you fire off a missile, when you take a gun and point it and aim it and pull the trigger, and the explosion occurs in the chamber that sends the projectile down the barrel into a trajectory, into a direction. Well, that explosion, that launch of the rocket, that's what happened to me at 11 years old. That changed the direction of my life. That put me in a different direction. It caused me to have a major distrust for authority figures. It caused me to have so many issues, especially sexually. I was not and am not a homosexual, have no proclivities in that direction. just have to trust me on that one. Believe me, if I was gay when I was in prison, I would have found out, because that's an environment where there's nothing but men, and they put me in some prisons where most of the inmates were, and yeah, I'm not gay. Trust me on that. Anyway, but because of that, when I reached the point of puberty, I needed to prove to myself and to everybody around me that I'm not gay. Even though they didn't know this was my mental thinking. I came to all these understandings about who I was and why I was when I did that self-evaluation. Because when I hit puberty, I had sex with every and any female who was willing. And I repulsed against being the aggressor because I hated it when it was done to me. But when a female was willing and wanting or aggressively sexual towards me, that was a big turn. That is one of my big turn-ons, when a female wants me. Because I also equated sex with love, which is a big mistake many of us make. Because to me, if a woman accepts me inside her body, how much more acceptance can you get? And that's what I wanted, was acceptance. I was this damaged goods young child that wanted love. My mom had issues of her own, which I'll discuss in another posting. But the fact that these women were allowing me into them and being intimate and again and again and time and again, and it felt good. Sex feels good. The one thing, when I years later smoked crack cocaine, when you hit that pipe, it fires off every pleasure center in your brain and makes you feel awesome. I've always said that crack is the closest thing to an orgasm in a drug that I've ever known. I'm not proud of knowing this information, don't misunderstand, but that drug abuse and criminal activity all stemmed from this behavior. Because when you're a little boy and you're taught by a leader figure, this is what you do when nobody's looking. You learn a lot when you're a child. When bad things like that happen to kids, that puts them in that direction, and that's the point I'm trying to make here. It messed my life up. It changed everything. I was never able to have a good, honest, intimate relationship with a woman because I was too busy trying to prove my masculinity, to prove my heterosexuality. I've made many mistakes because I was taught wrong by this priest and his selfish nature and his molesting me as a child. And if it happened to you, part of why I'm sharing this, you're not alone. Get help. Seek help. I'm not all about that. I do want compensation, don't misunderstand. That's why I'm going to have to produce a book about it, because it really pisses me off too to know that some people are able to sue and get millions of dollars, and I get the one thing again I didn't really cover in a moment ago is the Catholic Church is paying for my therapy, which I have an hour a week one-on-one with a therapist, plus I have another group thing I go to, but that's required because of my legal circumstance. And you can see that in the other videos. But the point I'm trying to get at here is I'm trying to explain to you the title of this blog. I'm trying to share with you, I was molested as an 11-year-old boy. I was raped by a Roman Catholic priest as an 11-year-old child, and it changed who I became. It affected me as a person. It affected how I thought. It affected the way I behaved. I have many apologies to give to those who I've hurt along the way, but I hope you can understand better now why I was who I was, and now I'm working really hard to change who I am into who I should have been all along. Because that trajectory sent me in a direction that I should have never gone in my life. And I am truly sorry to those who I've offended, and that's why I'm entitling the book, Our Father Who Art a Molester, How Monsters Reproduce. Because this, as we know in society, many of the molesters, many of the people who do wrong were molested themselves as children. And as my therapist points out, yes, not everybody who was a molester becomes one, but I responded to him with, not everybody who was molested necessarily got caught. There may be a lot more of them that are still behaving that way, they just haven't been caught doing it. I'm not saying they all are, and I don't misunderstand, but I'm saying that the probabilities and the statistics are what they are. They're not always 100% accurate. And my circumstance and situation is mine. And I'm owning it, I'm claiming it, I'm accepting it because of the 5 stages of loss, death, grief, anger, denial, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I've been angry about it, I still am, and I'm trying to work through that. I denied it for many years by repressing it because I knew if people knew I had been in a homosexual relation, even though it was unwilling, I would have been viewed that way. That affects your mind a lot too. Bargaining. God, tell you what, you do this for me and I'll do that for you. How many times have we said, oh, I'll never do it again after we get caught? We told God, I promise you, I won't do it again. This is the last time I ever do this drug. And we wind up doing it again. Depression. This is a tough one. I have been suicidal many times, to the point where they have it here called the Baker Act in Florida, where if you intend to harm yourself or someone else, you can be locked up in a facility. And the fact that they do that is wrong, because when you need to help the most and need to talk to somebody, you can't, because if you do, they'll lock you up. Does that make any sense? I mean, I know it's intended to protect people, but the problem is it also prevents people from going to seek the help when they need it the most. There needs to be some discernment on this that isn't there, and well, I hope that gets the point across. Acceptance on this is what I'm doing right now. I'm putting it out there. I'm admitting to it. I'm publicly speaking about it. As a matter of fact, I intend to be a public speaker. If you wish to hire me, pay for my travel, to come and speak in your event, in your facilities, to your group, I am more than willing to do so. I'm an experienced speaker. I was vice president of membership in a Toastmasters group for 2 years. I know how to publicly speak and give a speech. And if you're not familiar with Toastmasters, look them up. They're an international organization all over the world that teaches public speaking and leadership. So I can come speak to your group in your facility, and we can negotiate those terms if you wish to bring me in. And it would be another way for me to compensate for my past, to take something bad and turn it into something good. And this is what I'm trying to do. And I hope that you can work with me on this, and I hope that I can help you. If this happened to you, don't keep it in, don't hold it back, bring it back out, deal with it. Own it instead of it owning you. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak to you here and now, and I wanted to put this out there and explain it briefly. And if you want to hear the details or want to know the details, encourage me to write Our Father Who Art a Molester, How Monsters Reproduce. That is the title of the book I intend to write, to give the details of what happened to me as an 11-year-old child, having been sexually molested and raped by Father Ivan Payne, a Roman Catholic priest, in Old Bridge, New Jersey, in the church rectory, the St. Ambrose Rectory, right there on Throckmorton Lane. This happened a long time ago. And forgiveness, which I mentioned in another video blog, is something very hard for me to do about this. And I do need help and want help, and I encourage the Catholic Church, if you're viewing this, please do assist me. I've repeatedly made requests because I just got out of prison October of last year. This is right now the 31st of July in 2016. And I'm homeless, I'm jobless, I'm penniless. I'm struggling and fighting against insurmountable, overwhelming odds to try to put my life back together. And I ask any and all of you to help me. And I thank you for any help you can give, and at the very least, pray for me. And I pray for you all as well. And I thank you for viewing this. I appreciate your allowing me to publicly do my therapy here by sharing this information, and down below, post all your comments, positive, negative, and if you've experienced this, talk to me about it if you want to. I can be there for you. I'm a good listener. And I do hope that I can help people. Also, those of you who have family members who are sex offenders, friends, people you know, take into account and understand there's a strong probability that this kind of thing happened to them when they were a child, and it changed their trajectory of their life. It made them different. It hurt them. It affected them. They're victims, most likely, in most cases. Forgiveness is key here. We're supposed to be a Christian nation, and the centered nature of most religions is forgiveness. So employ that. If you really do have a faith and believe in what you're taught and what you're supposed to believe, that's a key part of it. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Stop making these people into... If you keep hurting people when they come out of prison, if you keep preventing them from being able to get jobs and get places to live. You're just pushing people, whether it's a sex offender or a thief or a murderer or whatever, you're pushing them, especially the drug offenders and things of that nature, you're pushing them right back into criminal activity, because how else are they supposed to live if that's the only way they know how to live? So, forgive my little social political messages here, but these are my thoughts and opinions, and this is the place I have to submit them to you. Again, a commercial for my book up here. Search Amazon for Kevin Rissmiller. Buy my book. That's a good way to help me tell people about my books. Tell people about this video blog. The only way for anything to work in nowadays is for them to go viral, for people to hear. If I'm talking to nobody, it doesn't matter, and I want to matter. Help me matter. You may not agree with everything I have to say, but I have the right under the First Amendment of the Constitution to say these things. And I mean no malice against the Roman Catholic Church or against priests or even against Father Ivan Payne. I know I'm supposed to forgive, and it's hard. I'm trying. And there are days I don't, and there are days I do. But the good people of the church, and the church itself, while it has its flaws, and any church does, there is a good intent behind the purpose. And as much as sometimes I want to malign that, that would be wrong with me, and two wrongs don't make a right, but two rights do make an airplane. Sorry, I had to throw a joke in there to lighten things up. In all seriousness, though, if this happened to you, get help. If it happened to somebody you know, give them love and understanding and forgiveness. And please, have a blessed day. Be good, be loving to those around you. And let's make this all a better nation. We can make America great, as Trump says, if we are great. And we are great when we let go of the bad and pursue the good together. Amen? I'll assume you all just said amen. I hope you did, at least in your mind. God bless you. Have a blessed day. And thank you for taking the time to listen to my ranting and raving here. And I hope you have a better understanding of who I am and why I'm the way I am, and that I'm not that person anymore, and that I'm working hard to change into someone who is a good citizen and a good person. God bless.